Welcome, everyone. This is Yvonne. I am doing an interview with one of my financial freedom students named G, and we're going to look at her astrological chart because she asked a question, which I'm going to paraphrase as it had to do with the comfort zone video, and it was called Comfort Zone Discomfort. And so she said, well, what if you have your moon in Taurus and you like comfort, you like staying in your home? I think that's the way I understood it, but you can clarify that, G. What do you do if you have moon in Taurus and you like comfort, you like being at home? How do you get out of your comfort zone? So the first thing I want to explore is the astrology, and then we'll talk. Then from there, that will kind of like catalyze us to explore more questions about, what does this mean? Okay, so this is the natal chart with your birth date, time, and place. And this is, of course, what it looks like. And there is your moon in Taurus. And so, and it's actually in your sixth house of work. And you have your ascendant in Sagittarius. So the first thing I want to do, because I thought this was really interesting, is I'm actually going to bring your chart onto my chart because we actually have some similarities in our chart. So I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so my chart is on the inside, and G's chart is on the outside. And so this is what I want you to see, G. Okay, look, my moon is in Taurus at 22 degrees 18 minutes, and yours is at 17 degrees 59 minutes. So our moons in Taurus are almost conjunct. And I have a Sagittarius sun that's almost conjunct your Sagittarian ascendant. So in terms of two of the most powerful symbols, yeah, well, the three most important are the ascendant, the sun, and the moon. So we have almost identical moons. We have we're very similar in terms of our Sagittarian ascendant and sun. And then you have your sun in Leo, and I have my ascendant in Cancer. So here's the thing I want to say is that while your planets do create a degree of personality, you can overcome that if it's an obstacle. So as an example, I have a Cancer ascendant, which made me extremely shy as a child. And in order to, to self-actualize, I had to overcome that so that I could do the things I wanted to do in my life. I had to overcome my shyness. So I definitely worked on that. That was an important goal in my life. So I think the point to consider is that it's not about the fact that you have the moon in Taurus. It has more to do with what you value, what you well, let me pull this up so we can just kind of have a little bit of a conversation, because I really wanted to make clear that like your alignments aren't hindering you in any way. It's not that we don't have challenges, we do. And sometimes challenges come up, and they're more often about the way the outer planets are landing on our chart, like squares, oppositions, and sometimes conjunctions, if they're from the malefic planets, that can be more challenging. But our basic chart doesn't tell us that we can or can't do anything. If our personality is hindering us, we can change that. So it's more about what you value. And so that's kind of what I want to have a conversation about, and see if that will take us back to looking at the chart again to see how the alignments can help you or how they might be challenging you. So do you understand what I'm saying? That like comfort, your desire for comfort isn't caused by your chart so much as it's just something you value. You like that comfort. And There's something else I want to ask, but just go ahead and respond to that for starts.
Okay. I love my comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel, I don't think of it in terms of value. I think of it, that's my personality. Like
Okay.
that's me. I love my
Mm-hmm.
comfort. And when I figure you might ask me, well, what do you value? And
Mm-hmm.
so the first thing I would say is freedom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Yeah.
So to commit myself to that change and truly follow through and
Mm-hmm.
keep going forward
Mm-hmm.
somehow doesn't feel like freedom. Although there's part of
Mm-hmm.
me that understands that structure can you can have freedom
Mm-hmm.
inside of structure,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that moving from my comfort zone requires commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can start anything, but
Okay.
staying with it and going through to the other side and not wanting to go back to the comfort, I seem to resist.
Okay. Okay. So, it's definitely not like a black and white thing. It's not an either or thing. It's more about integration. And so, and I can totally relate to what you're saying because that's something that I've struggled with over the years of being an entrepreneur. And of course, I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I value freedom and choice. And so I was thinking of an example where to build my business, someone said, we have to collect email addresses and you put them into this database and then you write your e-letter, e-newsletters and stuff like that. And I hated it. Oh, I just absolutely hated it. And finally and I forced myself to do it. I was lucky enough that I found a time in my life where I got inspired and I got the work done. But when it all came, over time, the way it all worked out was that I realized that forcing myself to do things that I really, really did not enjoy ultimately were not very successful. And so the trick has always been to do a kind of alchemy in which we are able to find the things that we love, that we value, that we enjoy, that inspire us, and mix that with the things that might be a little more challenging. So, because like if you create a business and somebody pays you, which you hope they do, um, you have to show up and follow through on your commitments, and so and sometimes that sometimes you feel really energized to do that, and other times you feel like you might not be feeling well or you're overwhelmed and you still have to follow through on your commitments. And so it's a reminder to like always look at what needs are being met. You want to meet a need for comfort, and I am never going to tell you that that shouldn't be important to you, because if it's important to you, there's no way you're going to give that up. So you have to find a way to integrate that into whatever income streams you create, that you have to value and honor your love of comfort. And I think that's different than doing scary things. What I mean by scary is um, like if you have to get in touch with people, or maybe, I don't know, at some point you might do some public speaking or something like that, something that people normally think of as scary. um, and then you say to yourself, well, I really love this career or this income stream I've created, and it meets so many needs for me, so I'm going to stretch myself this time. That's different. That's why, I think we're talking, you're the way you're talking about comfort is fundamental to who you are and what you need in life. And this other thing we're talking about is more like either stretching yourself in unusual situations that are not like normal and everyday to your business, or learning to integrate so that sometimes when you have to deal with difficult things, you're able to integrate it in such a way that it feels less difficult. Like I do a lot of my hardest work first thing in the morning because I'm refreshed and I'm not tired. I can focus, I can knock it out. Then later in the day has to be winding down to, like at the end of the day, maybe I do some reading on the subject if I enjoy it, because that's more passive. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but I'm not sure if it helps me to shift.
Okay. So, I know we talked about in your reading, we talked about you were thinking of, some kind of business you would like to create. Have you landed on anything that you think you're ready to start developing?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I really had, there's nothing that feels like, oh, it would be fun,
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
just a fun. I tell
Yeah.
myself, make it a game and come up
Hmm.
with a game. It doesn't even have to be the answer.
Hmm.
But the fact that you have a projected deadline date of launching, that's great.
Hmm.
As somebody who loves numerology, the idea that I can have a date,
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
but even that is not, even just to play. I'm not coming up with, oh, here's a fun thing. Let's do a garage
Hmm.
sale
Hmm.
and launch it that day.
Hmm.
Um, Garage sale doesn't turn me on.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there. So
Hmm.
I really haven't come up with anything.
Okay. So you mentioned numerology, and this could be a real example, or it could just be, something like that we just use as an example. So numerology, like me, I'm passionate about astrology, and I tried to create a business. I've done professional astrology for 14 years, but in all truth, it wasn't until I got online with YouTube that I was really able to support myself 100% from my astrology business, because um, I was doing a lot of piecemeal things because I was relying on the geographical location to access clients, and I needed a broader scope, a broader venue. But I'm passionate about astrology, so that was easy for me. So if you're passionate about something like numerology, then the next step is to ask yourself in what ways that are fun, that you could turn that into a potential stream of income. So different examples are like, you could write something, because we can always self-publish, and sell ourselves. We don't need other people to publish us. Um, like psychic fairs and metaphysical bookshops and advertising workshops or gatherings, or just doing one-on-one readings, or possibly starting a YouTube channel doing numerology. There are 1,001 ways that you could take something you're passionate about, that's fun for you, that lets you be at home most of the time doing your work, and yet can over time build up an income stream. That's the way I worked. I didn't try to imagine that one thing was going to be my holy grail. I said, this one thing, it might produce $100 a month. And then I've got these other 10 things. Literally, I never limited myself. I just said, I can do this. I enjoy it. Some people want it. I'm going to put it out there. I have, maybe just a few clients. Sometimes I even only had one client for a product or service that I put out there. And, at one time, in the early days of being an astrologer, sometimes I only had one client a month, but she came every month and she just kept me going. It was like, I know I can do this. I love it. I'm going to build on it. And if I had thought to myself, well, I only have one client, then I would have given up. And I'm glad that I didn't. So, do you see? Is that starting to make sense? How I would play that with that in my mind?
Yes, it all makes sense.
Okay.
Um, I understand, but I don't know how to say it. It's not. I've lost in some way the passion for
Mm-hmm.
numerology. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have the same passion as when I first studied it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've looked and I feel the field is online is
Mm-hmm.
saturated, and I know that's not true. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's not true, but that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I feel it's saturated with, whether it's tarot cards or astrology. So
Mm-hmm.
already putting up resistance around
Mm-hmm.
there. I want
Yeah.
to do everything for fun, for my own, um, you know, to learn just for
Yeah.
myself. Even when I learn things and I maybe try it out on my friends and they offer to pay, it's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to take your money, and so I could see that's going to be a barrier for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some part of my brain that says it really has to be a niche. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could have to be, and I haven't hit that part yet.
Okay. So your words faded out a little bit, but I'll try to. I'm hoping I heard enough. Which so what I'm understanding is like you love numerology, love tarot, and you want to do it for fun. And so here's just a thought. Okay, it doesn't have to be the solution to your problem because a lot of times we can't like instantaneously find the solution. Sometimes we just have to like let it simmer. So here's a thought. Um, I know what you're saying about, well, there's so many tarot readers on YouTube. And yet, when I look at people who I've met, not in person, but online, and they have successful channels, they've grown their channels really quickly. And the irony is that had nothing to do with how saturated YouTube might be with any particular subject like tarot. It had to do with the fact that they loved it. They were passionate about it. They just kept putting it up there, and have built their channels really quickly. And you only need a certain number. I think it's like 1,000 subscribers and a certain number of watch time, which some people can actually make happen within a few months. It took me a year because I was doing it part time. But still, I was really glad when I finally reached that threshold that I could apply for monetization. And then you can build a small income. I know there are people on YouTube who they get their entire income just from the Google ads, but I think that if we assume that we have to make like 50,000 a year, that threshold is too high. It will create resistance. But if we think, what, I'm just going to play with this a little bit every day, get this channel, build the channel. It's not that hard and it's free. um, Put up a video, and my camera and my microphone total, both the webcam and the microphone total costs like $100 on YouTube. So, and Zoom is free. So, I mean, I think that's why people are loving YouTube, is because there's such a low investment threshold. And you can just get in, and then you can do what you're passionate about for fun when you feel like doing it, because who cares? No, it's like, if you don't show up for a month, well, maybe you don't, build your channel as fast, but at the same time, you're not losing anything. It's there, it's ready for you whenever you're ready to come to it. And you can do it in your own time, and when you feel like it, in your own speed. So again, I'm not saying this is the solution to your problem. I'm just saying that to start pondering a shift in in I think really in your expectations, because that's what's blocking you. I think you do have passion. for certain subjects. And I think that you are perfectly capable of building something like a YouTube channel. You're perfectly capable. You're intelligent enough. That's not an obstacle. But you're telling yourself a story about what, it needs to be. Like, you need to be this, or, you need a niche, or it's too saturated. And the fact is, you can find a niche. Anybody can find a niche. My niche was the political stuff, which eventually I got to grow out of that. That's not going to work for me forever. But it got me started. And I think that as I grow out of it, I'll find a new niche that's true to my personality, and you can find that for yourself too. So again, this may not be a solution, but it can get you thinking. And that's really what matters, because at some point something will kick in you, and you say, yep, I think I'm going to stretch myself a little bit, and I'm going to give this thing a try. And if you end up hating it, it's like, so what? It's such a small investment. Again, you don't even need a webcam and a microphone. If you have one embedded in your laptop or your computer, you can make videos. People really, they're not that picky. That's another nice thing about YouTube, is that it's more about the personality. If they like someone, they'll become loyal fans, and they don't expect perfection. So as I was saying earlier, we don't want to go too long on this, or people won't have time to watch the whole video. So do you have any other last minute questions or comments you want to make?
Well, just a comment. I
Okay.
think, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for walking me through this. And I really do think it takes time and thinking. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I need to put together to come up with. It's not that I'm looking for an answer for finances right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's really what excites me.
Mm-hmm.
What will excite me to work on this
Mm-hmm.
every day? And I haven't answered that question. So
Okay.
I think that's where I'm left.
Okay. And what if you lowered the threshold a little bit to, it doesn't have to be every day, but maybe a few days a week, or even one day a week? That might be another thing to play with.
That's cool. I can do that.
Okay.
And the other thing is, maybe I hate to miss it, but maybe I should take my eye off of April 4th,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and be open and make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. All right. Well, thank you, G. I really appreciate that you had the courage to ask the question, because I think that is so important. That in itself is a lesson, that when we ask for something, often we receive. And you asked a question, and you helped me too, because I like I don't always know what's going on in my students' minds, because I'm not meeting you face to face every day or every week. And so when you share with me what your challenges are and you ask for help, it helps me too. And it's helping everybody else who's in this program. Because I know that a lot of them, if not all of them, are struggling with the exact same issues that you're talking about here. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty, so I will go ahead and close out this recording and say thank you to everyone else for watching this video. And we'll talk to you again later. Bye-bye.